incidents, very shocking incidents leading to fatalities. And this has given a huge shock to residents and created risks, in particular for members of management committees. The biggest jolt perhaps came in the recent instance, when we saw following the tragic swimming pool death of a 9-year-old child in one of Bangalore's apartments. 6 office bearers were arrested, and subsequently the High Court of Karnataka actually ruled that office bearers in owners' associations can indeed be liable for prosecution for criminal negligence if there are no lifeguards at this pool or if safety measures are found to be inadequate. I think all of this has, created a sense of very serious concern, confusion, and there are many pertinent questions in the minds of all community residents and members of managing committees. So that is the context, and that is the angle from which we are coming into this very important discussion today. We hope to look at an overview of swimming pool safety and with focus on operation, mechanical, electrical aspects. We want to hear about the best practices that are being followed, some of them for risk mitigation. We will, very importantly, look at legal compliance, liability, and mitigation for management committee members. And overall, look at issues arising from use of technology, what other safeguards can be taken, etc. We are very privileged today to have a set of very eminent panelists, most importantly, because all of them bring with them vast experience and are probably the best people to guide us today. Just a brief introduction to our speakers. We have Mr. K.C. Vinod, who is a part of the Brigade Facility Management Services. He has an experience of handling more than 1,000+ multi-dwelling units, and he also trains community managers. Next, we have Mr. Bhaskar Dhar Chaudhary, who has been an assistant vice president at SILA, and he has 20+ years of experience in engineering, maintenance, capex, operations, etc., and manages 80+ properties today. We also have with us Mr. Satish G, who has 25+ years experience in the tech industry, and he is currently the second-term secretary of the Prestige Westwoods Apartment Owners Association in Gopalapura in Bangalore. We are also very grateful to have with us today 2 very eminent people who can, talk to us, who can bring in national perspectives and legal perspectives to this. We have Mr. Rahul Patil, who is chairman of the Mumbai Division Certified Auditor Association. He's also the national joint head of Sahakar Bharati Housing Prakoshth and the state head of the housing chapter of Sahakar Bharati. He is a member of the All Maharashtra Federation of Auditors Association as well. He has been a returning officer for over 1,000 societies and an administrator for more than 300 housing societies. With him is Advocate Jayant Kulkarni. Mr. Kulkarni has been a former advisor for the National Cooperative Housing Federation, New Delhi, and has been specializing for years in state and central acts for housing societies. Finally, to bring in a very practical and, with his vast experience, we have Vikram Rai, who's president of the Bangalore Apartments Federation. So thank you all. Thank you again for joining us today. And before we dive into the discussions, just a very quick, some ground rules that I have to share with you. One is, as you know, we will be happy to host your questions, and we will try to answer as many of them as possible during the session. If we run short of time, we will make sure that, some of these are addressed later also. But for now, I will request all of you to share your questions in the chat box. Okay. And we will, as I said, we will try and take up as many of them as possible after the speaker sessions are over. And of course, one basic ground rule for everyone, we request everyone not to engage in any kind of trolling or personal abuse in the session. This is meant to be a very general, informative, useful session for all participants out here today. So with that, let me go directly to Mr. Vinod, and I will request him to start with a short overview of the safety aspects of swimming pool maintenance in apartment societies. And based on that, we will come back to him later with the questions that we have from participants. Welcome, Mr. Vinod. Is Mr. Vinod here? If there is a
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me?
yes,
Yes,
now we can hear you.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you are excited to meet and interact with the people across various residential complexes. My name is Vinod, working with Brigade as facility manager. I had been to facility management industry from 2006. I sincerely hope that there are a lot more to learn as we come across a lot of new enthusiastic facility team, management committee members, residents across various societies. And I strongly believe that there are new technologies and improvised methods are coming up in the market to learn and adapt, which means there are scope for more learnings. I hope the participants would definitely bring up new things to learn for everybody. Without taking much of your valuable time, let's go to the slide. Yeah, we have swimming pools in most of the residential complexes, but you must have seen swimming pools in your life, maybe out other than residential complexes. There are various types of pool across the world in hotels and other organizations for sports. We are basically focusing on the residential complex swimming pools because that is meant for the community members to enjoy and relax. But at the same time, we have different types of pools. I mean, the depth and the size, etc. So the maintenance almost it remains same, but the safety aspects differs. Like if you are looking at the first point, marking of the pool depth. This is one of the main safety aspect. If you are in the pool, the water level looks same, but the floor is not at the same level. Some places, you have lower level, some places you have higher levels, depend upon the people's usage. So it's always better to mark the depth of the pool on the deck or clearly visible to others. Because when you keep moving or when you swim, the moment you try to touch your feet, if you have experience, you're a good swimmer, you know that when you try to land on the pool, you realize that, oh my goodness, I'm not able to stand. So if you have the markings, you will be able to land safely. Warning boards, for example, you can refer to the big boards displayed very clearly in most of the pools, mentioning about the kind of dress code you need to wear, the kind of uh, precautions you need to take. For example, some people don't like to cover their head, but especially those who have long hairs, the hairs can go and, block the pipe. So that's why they are asking us to cover the head. And at the same time, the pool is chlorinated. Your hair also can be protected for that. So the rules and regulations are very important because some guests or maybe some of the new users may not be knowing how to use the pool. Maybe a child, if not accompanied by an adult, if he or she is less than maybe 6 years or 10 years, depend upon the society rules. It is very essential to ensure that they follow the rules. Otherwise, it can lead to accidents. Because unlike in major communities, which has bigger pools, smaller communities have pools with less depth. They may not have lifeguards, and they must have displayed, children below this years should accompanied by an adult. So it has to be enforced as a part of routine maintenance by the security or the club in charge uh, in all the societies. I'm sure most of us are doing it. So directions to use a pool, the same thing. I mean, there are bigger, boards displayed in most of the places. If not, we have to display it and circulate it regularly, especially when the new moving ins come. The new people should know it. Next slide, please. Yeah, as I said earlier, this picture shows the rules and regulations displayed near the pool. We can have ample examples across various societies. We had been doing it for years, and still there are violations. So, to ensure safety of the user, it is always better to enforce and ensure that they are forced to follow the rules. Some societies have penalties. They have app like in Adda app or any other app. We can configure it in such a way that only those who book through the app gets an entry. Some residents associations have the uh, cards to swipe and get into the pool. Only members will be allowed to the pool. So members will definitely know about the rules and regulations. So when you enforce, it is good to have. It's not for making money, but it's good to have some penalty clauses so that people are serious. Next slide, please. Yeah. The water cleanliness, of course, the pool water is clearly visible. Most of us have, blue colored or designed tiles at the bottom of the pool. You can clearly see the floor. So it clearly indicates that the water is clear. But how clean it is? How do we monitor that? How do we maintain that? We have a filtration system in every pool. The whole pool water is being gradually filtered and put back into the pool. And, you know, because of the process, we may reduce a certain amount of water due to evaporation. Some of the water may go out and new water is added. But this water is not going to be same at all times. Maybe over a period of time, the whole pool water is getting changed. And we need to maintain it chemically balanced, balance it out so that, the people use the pool don't get any infection and they feel comfortable. So the process of filtering the swimming pool water is done mostly by an experienced, skilled operator. We prefer the OEM to do it because they know better And comprehensive maintenance contract is always advisable because they take care of the chemicals and the minor repairs and periodical training in case if there is a change. So first, the pool is cleaned by the operator for a certain period in the morning, like taking out the leaves and then, cleaning. There are drain caps which they take it out and clean the leaves and any dirt is accumulated that they take it out and they add, chlorine to maintain the pool and free from bacteria. So the ideal level is to maintain the pool chlorine level is 1 to 1.5 ppm, and the pH value should be around 7.2. There are test kits available to measure all these parameters, and management committees can insist the maintenance team to maintain monthly checklist on verification. So this will help them to understand how the pool is maintained, and if there is a problem, they can monitor. Next slide, please. This is what I was talking about. The filtration units actually it's a continuous cycle. This means the water of the pool is not stagnant. It keep recirculating. It undergo filtration, get treated to eliminate bacteria. And there are valves to control flow of water, which is operated by trained operators regularly. Next slide, please. It is important in the swimming pool filtration system to mark the flow of the water, especially the plumbing system is to be marked. In this picture, you can see there are arrow marks provided. And it is a part of maintenance manager to ensure when they take over pool that it is all marked. And there are charts displayed. The flow charts and diagrams are displayed. The capacity is displayed. And the drain out valves are displayed. So all these are displayed in case if there is a change of the maintenance team, people do not have to search for the directions. Maybe after 5, 10 years, we'll have to keep maintaining it. The arrow marks will fade away. We'll have to again refix it. We know how to drain out the pool. We should know in case if there is any emergency, what we should do, where are the valves, how do we operate. All that should be marked. That will help in an emergency and when there is a change. Next slide, please. Unlike any other machinery, regular usage of a pool will give you less maintenance. Because, the more you use the pool, the water get, mixed up with the chemicals. And then, the people who use it, more often, they get familiar to the water. And even, especially the chlorine, mainly the granules are used nowadays. It will take time for granules to get mixed up, unlike the liquid chlorine. So nowadays, everybody prefer granules, I believe. Now, if the pool is not being used, then it is the operator who need to spend a little more time to clean it and maintain it because, it is not mixed. You'll have to run the filtration more time. And there is a doubt about certain pool usage that, whether we can use the pool when the filtration is on, or when they use the pool, the filtration is on, is it safe? Yes, there is no problem. We can run the filtration even if it's closed. Next. The regular pool maintenance are, the activities carried out regularly by the operator, preferably non-usage timings. Normally 12 to 3 is ideal. When I was there in major projects, we preferred 12 to 3. That is a time, people don't use it, and then we can carry out our activities. 2 to 3 hours are required. We have a long, a telescopic road with, fishing net, which helps us to reach to the sender to pick up if there is any floating material, leaves or anything like that, to collect and dispose. And again, we can connect the suction pad at the bottom of this telescopic rod, so it can reach to the any corner of the pool or at the bottom of the pool. And there are machineries and there are pumps. There are various machineries. I mean, as I told you in the beginning, there are many methods. New equipments are coming up. Automated systems are coming up. So we are talking about the normal conventional method, which generally we use every project, so that it is maintained properly, and even a normal operator, uh, which we take it as an economical way of maintenance cost. So we first do with the brushing. We allow the water to settle, and then we do a brushing, and then we do brushing with the sides of the pool, at the bottom of the pool, and we do the suction. And the suction, when you suck the materials which are settled down, it goes to the filtration unit, and then the water gets filtered. Only fresh, good water come back to the pool. And the what we can say that the filtration units are collecting all these sediments, and this is to be cleaned. That is what is called backwash. After getting the pool cleaned, we have to carry out an activity called backwash. It means all the material, all the sediments what got accumulated in the filtration unit need to be thrown out. So there is a reverse flow of water, which is called backwash. There are valves provided for it, and the operator is well aware. We're not going into more technicalities. So that clear the filtration unit ready for the next cycle. Then next day we do the same thing again. Next slide, please. See, there are two chemical parameters we used to do. Is one is chlorine level, and another is pH level. The pH is an abbreviation, like P is small, H is big. It is scientific. In the scientific terms, it is power of hydrogen, and the P is short in the German word potence, which means power or concentration. Just for your, refreshing it. So the pH level of the water is 7, which is neutral. When water is alkaline, if it more than 8, the effect is, eye irritation, skin irritation. It lead to a lot of such kind of activities. And when it is less than 7, it is acidic. And the effect is, again, irritation, skin irritation, and pipe corrosion. So to avoid all these bad elements, we keep the water parameter at 7.2 and 1 to 1.5 ppm. And this is a part of the checklist, and it is displayed on a daily basis. And if committee members can insist the operator to display it, the manager can monitor on a daily basis. Maybe on randomly, he should go and check in front of him what is the quality of water, at least once in a week. This will ensure the pool is clear and ready for usage. Next slide. We have various methods to clean the pool. You must have seen sometimes during rainy season, water get into the pool, and sometimes, you don't, during Corona time, you don't use the pool. Sometimes the water turn green. It is actually a chemical imbalancing. So what happens is, a method what we followed is the material called alum, which is used to settle the test at the bottom, if we keep it for a longer period, so that next day morning, especially we do it in the night, and next day morning we go and do a suction. So, and if we do it over a period of time, it will take a couple of days to turn the water into uh, clear water from the color. So The quantity, typically it varies. Here in the slide I said the water is, the alum used is 10 kg approximately for a pool of 3 lakh liters. But maybe if you have lesser quantity pool, you can use lesser quantity. Or this, it is better to leave to the OEM. And I think that's the last slide.
So
So,
thank you, Mr. Vinod. I think you've given us a very clear overall operational and maintenance related picture of what needs to be done. I'm sorry, I'm just like rushing this a bit because we have a lot of questions, and I know I'm going to come back to you later because I already see a few questions which are, which you will probably be best suited to answer. So we will come back to you. For now, I'm going to request Mr. Bhaskar to come in. We've heard about the mechanical and the regular operational aspects of safety that need to be followed. But Mr. Bhaskar, I'm going to request you to come in on the electrical maintenance aspect of it, which is very critical. And of course, as we've seen in the recent instance, the death occurred due to suspected electrocution. So there are a lot of questions in people's minds about what needs to be done to ensure electrical safety. So thank you, and I will request you to just give us some insights into that as well as your general tips for MC members. Mr. Bhaskar is unable to unmute himself. Can someone help?
Mr. Bhaskar, I've sent you a invite to unmute yourself.
Yeah. I think it's done now. Now I am audible, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hi everybody. Good morning, and thanks for taking out some time to come in the morning. So I will and Mr. Vinod, thanks very much for giving us the mechanical insight. So I will like to take you through the electrical part, a little bit about me. So I am 21 years working in the industry, and among these 21 years, 15 years I've worked extensively with the manufacturing industry only. And for last 5-6 years, I am working in this service industry along with Amazon. So Procter& Gamble, Hitachi, Amazon are the few companies with which I have worked. Okay, so next slide, please. Let's start. Yeah. So electrical safety. Basically, electrical is something which we cannot see, but it is very hazardous. It can cause fatality, and we have got few examples and also a lot of examples in the industry. So just for your information or refreshing your information, many of you might be knowing this. More than 36 volt, more than if the circuit is allowing to draw current more than between 100 milliamps to 200 milliamps, that's enough to kill a person. And we have got 220 volt at our home, right? The phase comes at 415 volt. So the power at your home is also very dangerous. Definitely in the pool with the water, which is an excellent conductor of electricity, it makes even hazardous. Okay, so always remember these two basic parameters and try to have the safety in place so that it protects you, because without power and electricity we cannot survive. That's the basic need of for everybody. Everything runs on now power. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we have got lights installed inside the swimming pool. That is as per the law, we have to keep that. We have got pumps which is circulating the water. So electricity is everywhere. We cannot stay without that, but there are certain switch gears or equipment with the help of which we can protect ourselves, like ground fault circuit interrupters, right? So if there is a ground fault between any of the equipments which is running the pool, it will trip and it will separate the circuit, restricting the power flow, current flow. So this will save the person. Ensure that whatever equipments you are using are UL listed. Switch gears or pumps has gone bad, gone faulty. People put some not ULFM list.
Mr. Bhaskar, your voice is breaking in between.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Yes, yes.
So recommendation is always use the ULFM listed materials, particularly in case of electricity. Ensure that the components which you are using in outdoor are weatherproof so that because of water there is no electrocution. The circuit breaker. So if there's an emergency, it's an emergency, right? People will run mad. We have to be prepared for that. Tomorrow, anywhere, some emergency can happen. So make your circuit breakers easily accessible and train your people so that people know that if there is an emergency, how.
Am I the person? I've lost Mr. Bhaskar's voice again.
Yeah, the voice is not audible. Mr. Bhaskar, are you able to hear us?
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yes,
lost
yes.
you for a bit in between. Yeah.
Okay, UL is a standard. UL is a standard. So we will come back to the questioning session. Okay. So ensure that the circuit breakers are accessible to everybody. Ensure that all the power supply, the switch gears are accessible to everybody so that when there is an emergency condition, the power supply can be separated. It can be operated, it can be separated, and ensure these things are tested. Develop and share an emergency plan for electrical incident, including the responses to the shock. If somebody receives a shock, how to operate that? Yes, we have these things in our HT switch yard. That is part of the compliance. We have to keep that. But I will recommend seeing the cases which is happening, which is occurring here. We have to delegate this or we have to prepare this in case of swimming pool also. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah. Educating pool user. Install visible signages where the electrical devices are, from where we need to stay away. So that there is means so that people know and unnecessary because child will be there, kids will be there, unattended child will be there. It's a residential property, right? So install some danger signs so that people know where the danger is and they try to stay away. Anyways, in sometimes uh, children has got an attitude that they will go to whatever is red, but again we have to educate us. Safe installation practices. So I will recommend who will be working in the swimming pool area, they license so that they are aware and safety practices, because it's a residential property. As per my experience, I am aware that a lot of license electric very much important, which I will recommend. The electrician who is working in this electricity should be a license holder. Place at least 6 feet away from the pool edge and keep the overhead power lines 22.5 feet above and 10 feet away from the horizontal. And
We are having the issue again, Mr. Bhaskar.
these are very technical parts. IP67 is something which you can put inside water and there will be no problem. This may because of network. Right now, I cannot help. Maybe the network is sometime going weak. So please let me know. I will again
Yeah.
repeat that. Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Proper grounding and bonding. So we know that the current always take the shortest path. Okay. So the grounding has to be such that if there is a fault, the fault current goes directly to the ground and we avoid the electrical shock. It gives a safe path basically. And additionally, all the equipment should be on equipotential. This is something which came new in the industry, means a lot of research are going on. People came to know if we connect all the electrical component on the equipotential, then though there will be if there is a power, if there is a ground fault or failure, the power will go to the ground. It will not come to some of the devices because all are in the equipotential. Okay. So yeah. Now the regular inspection and maintenance. So see, the equipment which fails, it's in electrical, right? Electrical, again, you cannot see, you have to feel, you have to think. So like in mechanical, you can see a chain is breaking down, a motor has started, that means a pump has started to give some sound. In electrical, you have to sense. The best thing is do the preventive maintenance properly so that you are aware of what component is going out. If I can see my motor is taking a little bit more current day by day, then I know something problematic is coming over here. Okay, wear and tear is happening and I need to take care of that. So recommendation is please do the proper maintenance. Don't try to reduce any cost over, including me. I also see in a society, right? Same thing happens in my society also. So don't try to cut down your cost over there because life is precious. There should not be any compromise with that. Okay, cost reduction will look, but recommendation is not at the cost of the quality. Okay, waterproofing and protection. Ensure electrical connections are waterproofed and sealed, and elevate equipment to protect it from water plus flooding. As I told you, if you put a IP67, so that will be taken care of. Now follow the national electrical code and local regulation for pool safety, because pool is now very important. It comes under national electrical code. Obtain the permit and inspection for electrical installation or module or modifications to ensure compliance and reduce the liability risk. So when electrical inspector visits, so electrical inspector visit is yearly. So get the pool inspected and evaluated and validated by the local electrical inspector also. Once he mentioned that thing in his report, so he is very sensitive. He will mention electrically fit once he is satisfied. So have an inspection done with the electrical inspector also to ensure all your electrical component is working well. Generally, when he comes, he limits his visit only in the main switchyard, main high tension switchyard. So allow him, invite him in your swimming pool also and your low tension places also, so that he can have an eye and give a third party recommendation also what can be done more to make the things safer. Can I move to the next slide, please? Yeah. So this is something is very important, ELCB, earth leakage circuit breaker. So I have written some technical things. Maybe your technical person can be able to understand, but in a thumb note, as a thumb rule, or in a nutshell, or as a layman point of language, what I'll try to explain: earth leakage circuit breaker. So this monitors the phase and neutral, and if this particular component see there is a major difference, that means there may be somebody who is standing in the pool and the current is flowing through him or her. So if your earth leakage circuit breaker is working, seeing the difference of the current, it will immediately trip that. So no compromise in the earth leakage circuit breaker. Please ensure that this device is installed in all your circuit where there is a human touch, particularly the swimming pool area, and ensure that this is tested regularly, maybe monthly. Keep a good brand, ABB, Havells, Siemens, Allen Bradley, and keep this in store. Keep this in as a spare in your store, so that when there is some delay or something, some delay, or means some, you can say that one earth leakage circuit breaker can go bad, then immediately this can be replaced. No compromise on that. This is a life savior. Hence, I mentioned this separately. Can I move to the next slide? I think the same thing. I have explained it. Maybe you can maybe you can go through this in detail when the presentation will be sent to you. You can move to the next slide. Yeah. So same thing. I have tried to explain this what I told. So now tips for MCs when you are taking over the swimming pool from the developer. So there are certain daily tasks, weekly tasks, monthly tasks, seasonal tasks, and annual tasks. Please ensure that you got a shutdown, as our friend mentioned, that 12 to 3, depending on the society to society. Clean the pool, inspect the pool, check for the proper functioning to ensure that everything is fine. One thing I will like to, I did pen down everything what I came to know from my study, from my maintaining so many properties, and from my experience working the manufacturing. But one thing I will like to add here in a lot of places we start to get the information that why can't we use hydrogen peroxide in place of chlorine? Correct. Yeah, we can use hydrogen peroxide in place of chlorine, but the problem is none of the standards is supporting that. Technically, yes, lot of institutions has given go ahead, like your NIT Trichy, REC Rourkela, sorry, NIT Rourkela. I saw some study by them. Lot of means they have given a go ahead to start to use hydrogen peroxide, but none of the IS standard, none of the international standard is still telling go ahead with hydrogen peroxide. So I will like to just bring your attention that as of now, let us not use hydrogen peroxide till the time the standards of the authorities tell us okay, you can use it. Yes, we can move to the next slide.
Next.
Yeah. So water quality management, maintenance of the pool equipment, these are very important. If the water quality is mentioned proper, people will be people will be very comfortable in the pool. There will not be any problem with them. Eye irritation, all these things will not be there. And we got to know about the standard of parameters also. Maintenance of the pool equipment. So pump, filter, heater, chlorinators should be operated by preferably by the OEM. Troubleshoot should be done and regularly inspection for leak, noises or wear and tear must be monitored. Preventive measures and repairs. So don't wait if a pump start to leak, if the seal start to leak, don't wait for a major leakage. Immediately fix it. So this will avoid a bigger leakage, right? Record keeping. So all the logs, whatever you have mentioned, because in a lot of places I saw that maybe when a community is starting up, okay, so water test report are there, but they are not maintained in a proper way. Tomorrow, if there is a hazard or there is a problem, we are not able to go back and check what has happened. So please mention in a day-to-day in a chronological order. Track expenses to manage the budget effectively. It's possible. It's very well possible. If you don't track it, if you don't maintain the record, someday you need to spend more. Communication and training is very important. Do a regular training, how the equipment should be handled. Maybe once in a 3 months, get this training done preferably by the OEM. Energy efficiency, yes, this pump will run continuously at least for 16 hours. So I will recommend the older associations to upgrade your pump to i4. Now i4 has came in the market. Basically, you'll see i2, definitely install i3. i4 is a bit costly, but as a thumb rule, don't see energy efficient equipment costing, because 5 years, if you run one energy efficient equipment or devices, less than 5% is a capex cost, 95% is your opex cost, is a thumb rule. So you can understand if you're buying a pump and if you need to run it for 5 years, so after 5 years, 5% is only your capex cost. Next slide, please. Yeah. Health and safety compliances. So ensure the pool complies with local health and safety regulation. So this again is from state to state a little bit I have observed. Conduct regularly safety audit to address the hazard. At least one of the MC member weekly on the holiday should conduct an audit by himself, so that to ensure that nothing is under the stone or nothing is hidden, and all the staff who will be working in and around must be properly trained on first aid and emergency response. Communication with property owners or management. Communication is very important. The maintenance plan must be shared, aligned, documented, and displayed. Next slide. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bhaskar. I think that level of detail has been very useful and enlightening for most people here, even people who have been, managing and working with pools for a long time. I'm sure they have taken a lot from this. There are some questions, but as I said, I'm trying to keep the questions for the end. We will now move to Mr. Satish. And we've already heard from Mr. Bhaskar and Mr. Vinod on, the theoretical practical aspects and what needs to be done to ensure safety at a mechanical, operational, and electrical level. But I'm going to invite Mr. Satish to come in to share some of the things that they have been doing at Prestige Westwood's apartment and his takeaways or learnings from that. So, Mr. Satish, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Satrupa. Good morning, everyone. I'm Satish. I'm the second-time Secretary of Prestige Westwoods. Next slide. We are an apartment of about 560 plus apartments situated right behind the railway station near Lulu Mall. Our property is maintained by Prestige's own services company called PPMS. And it's a very nice property, very green and clean and things like that. We have a beautiful swimming pool, as you can see in the photos over there. The swimming pool is split into two, one for children and one for adults. We have washrooms, changing rooms, lounge deck, etc. After the association took over, we installed focus lights in that area. And of course, initially when the builder gave it to us, there were internal swimming pool lighting as well, right? And we have a fantastic water filtration system right below the swimming pool in the basement. Thanks to Mr. Ashok and Mr. Vinod and Mr. Bhaskar, they gave wonderful tips in the previous two sessions. And I'm happy to say that in Prestige Westwoods, the swimming pool that we have, most of what they spoke about are already in place, right? So this is more of a case study. I'll show you what we currently have, what are the challenges we are facing, and a few points to ponder. Next slide. So as you can see from the photo on the top right, it's an open swimming pool. So one of the biggest challenges that we face is the difficulty to regulate entry and exit to that area. We, as residents, we keep getting guests at home, and a normal tendency is to, take the children out to, play in the pool, use the facilities, etc. At these times, especially, when outsiders or, guests of residents come in, it becomes very difficult, to impose the rules and regulations, right? Many children or even the adults, they don't go through the signboards, they don't read. Nobody has that patience, They see a pool, they want to dive in, right? So that is a challenge that we are facing here. Even pictorial warnings are, usually ineffective. And the challenge, additional challenge here is, having a dedicated manpower. Right? I have another slide later on where I'll talk more about that, but it doesn't seem to be cost effective for apartment complex. What we've done here is, of course, the pool is maintained by our PPMS staff who have been trained, but we've also entered into a third-party contract, with another company who does regular maintenance of the swimming pool. So most of the aspects that Mr. Vinod spoke about, as well as Mr. Bhaskar, they are all addressed by this third-party agency, right? We do have, since it's an open pool, we have birds coming in, fall leaves, dirt, etc. But our team is, taking care of it very well to ensure that everything is, clean and looks nice as well. Next slide. So here's a key difference between, what happens in public pools versus the apartment pools, right? In a typical public pool, swimming pool, there's a lot of footfall, multiple batches a day and things like that. Whereas if you look at apartment pools, probably a few people might use it in the mornings on a weekday basis. Some may come in the night or evenings, late evenings, etc. We have the pool open right from 6 a.m. till around 9:30, 10 p.m., right? But the huge rush is seen only during weekends. That's when a lot of kids come with their parents and, everyone enjoys the pool. So the kind of footfall to a swimming pool is very low, typically during weekdays, right? The other issue is we don't charge anything additionally. It's part of the facility. It's part of the maintenance, right? So we can't impose any additional charges. Whereas if you look at a public swimming pool, people have to pay the entry charges and things like that. So there's some revenue that's coming in regularly, right? And in a public swimming pool, if there's a lifeguard, maintenance team, etc., who are deployed specifically for that pool, they'll be used throughout the day. Whereas when it comes to an apartment pool, it's only when it is being used, which is hardly 1 or 2 hours a day, right? So what do we do with that deployed manpower for the rest of the day? That's another challenge, right? So if we look at deploying a lifeguard specifically for a pool in an apartment, as I said, it's hardly an hour or two a day, but the cost is very high. It's an exorbitant additional cost. Next slide. So when we got to know of this very unfortunate incident that happened, Prestige, in fact, was involved in the entire thing. So they immediately gave us a lot of guidelines. And here were a few things that we did immediately, right away. Now, the first thing that we did was we disconnected the electrical supply for the internal pool lighting. And we did a complete check of wherever the cable was running, electrical cable was running on the surface area around the pool, and ensure that there is no leakage, nothing. All wires are completely secure and things like that. So that is the first thing that we did. The internal pool lighting, of course, all the ELCB, everything that Mr. Bhaskar spoke about, everything is in place. But as MC members, when such a shocking news came out and the repercussions, etc., we decided to go the complete extreme and completely disconnected the power supply for the internal lighting. Then we ensured that a few identified security guards were given training on CPR, life-saving tips, etc. And that happens regularly, periodically. And these identified security guards have been given additional duty, when they are monitoring the driveway, for example. If the swimming pool is going to be used by some resident, they are asked to come and stand near the swimming pool, ensuring that the guidelines are followed. So we've given them a list of what residents need to follow, like, for example, wearing headgear, wearing the swimming costume, no jumping, all those kind of things that we've made a checklist. And we've trained them on that. And, they take care of all these things. Sometimes residents, don't follow that and they bring it up to our notice. Then we go in and we talk to that resident concerned, right? We also keep posting regular messages in our internal WhatsApp groups and on Adda, etc. And we also, make it mandatory, that we impose penalty on residents who don't follow rules. Of course, that's never happened so far because of our approach. We go talk to them and then they understand and they usually follow the rules, right? Next slide. So here are some things that we did. We added more focus lights to increase the brightness in the area because the internal pool lighting was completely disconnected. Now, this was another thing, the second photograph that you see. It is a little bit of controversial thing, but then we had to do it and we installed CCTV cameras. However, we ensured that it is masked. It just records in the background. In case of any incident that is reported, only one person with the credentials will be able to log in and check. That's something that we did with the consent of our residents here. And whenever the pool gets closed for maintenance, cleaning, etc., we put up traffic cones to indicate that the pool is closed, right? And the last photo shows that photograph of a security guard who keeps deployed for additional duty, right, whenever residents come to swim. So that's the case study. That's what's happening. A few points to ponder, and I'll open it up for discussion among the panelists as well. Fundamentally, we association committee members are contributing voluntarily. Something that we want to maintain the place where we live. We want to contribute, and we're doing it voluntarily. We don't have any salaries, no perks, nothing like that, right? So when something like this comes and comes back on us, it's a little unnerving. And what it leads is to complete demotivation among MCs. Who will want to take unnecessary risk, when They're not even aware of certain things and things like that, you know. So that's one of the points to ponder. And we do have like an agency dedicated to maintaining the pool. So who will have the onus of, if something happens? That's the question that we can discuss. So with that, I end my presentation, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Satish. It was good to see some of the things discussed actually in practice, and you're the best person to tell us like how it was done. Thank you. So the last few questions that you raised about, about liability of managing committee members, etc., that provides, perfect segue into the next segment of our discussion. And I can see that, a bulk of the questions that we've received both at the time of registration and even now on the chat box, actually raise questions about that, the worry and the concern over the liability of members. What exactly is mandatory? What does the law say? How much, what kind of onus lies on the MC members? What can they be held culpable for? So with that, we segue into the next segment, which will talk about the risks and liabilities. And as I said, we have two very experienced people, Mr. Rahul Patil and Advocate Jayant Kulkarni, who can help us, who can help shed some light on this. But I will invite Mr. Kulkarni to start with a brief overview of the laws and the various sections that exist. Although I would also like to keep some time, I will request you, Mr. Kulkarni, to keep it, to the absolute critical minimum, because, there are so many specific questions regarding liability that I would like to put to the two of you, both you and Mr. Patil. So, yes, if you can just start with an overview of the legal provisions of the sections that exist.
Yeah. Good morning. Are you getting me?
Yes. Yeah.
So I am Advocate Jayant Kulkarni, staying in Pune, working as an advocate since long time, 25 years in this cooperative field. And I was also basically housing Prakost, which Sahkar Bharti, working as a All India in charge for housing sale. Now Rahul Patil is working there on that post. And I was also national advisor to NCHF, which is the apex body of the Cooperative Housing Federation in India. And in Maharashtra also, I am a member of the Housing Bylaws Drafting Committee member. I worked as so many committees established by the state of government, Maharashtra government. I have published 5-6 books on the housing. I am writing regularly articles on the housing problems, cooperative housing and apartment. I wrote the apartment book just 2 years back and circulated in Maharashtra, which is come under the Maharashtra State Apartment Act. So basically, my work is connecting to housing sector only. It may cooperative housing, it may apartment act. Both the acts are different. Cooperative Housing Act is in Maharashtra, it is 1960, and Apartment Act is 1970. So likewise, today's webinar I am attending first time with the request of the Rahul Patil and local representative of the ADDA. So I'm very happy to join this webinar because 2 points are there. One is joining first time as an attraction. Second is the subject matter is very, very, very sensitive, which is affected by all the persons in India who are staying in the housing sector, maybe apartment or housing society. So this subject should come forward, should come before the people. Many people are suffering for that. because in housing sector, all people or apartment association, they are voluntarily work. They are doing the voluntary job. We say as a Laskar ki bakri. Paisa, that is the work. So no salary, no other riyam. But people are doing voluntarily for the sake of the social attitude. So people come and spare the time for it. In that case, basically our incidents happened in Karnataka, and also second, third is where I belong to Karnataka. I am from Dharwad, so naturally I got attachment in Karnataka state also. So the incidents happened in Karnataka, Bangalore. So naturally I am very happy to join this session first time. I hope um, and I'm thankful for this good seminar arranged by Adda management and all other persons, those who are not. First I am seeing all the people, and also the people have delivered lectures recently, Mr. Vinod and Bhaskar and Satish. Nicely they have represented the information. This is very is crucial point in this sector of swimming pool, because many people doesn't know how to maintain the swimming pool. So there is a legal complications are happens. What to do? This is the responsibility of the managing committee to face the music. I would like to quote the incidents in Maharashtra. One society in Pune, the which is like the gallery. One part of the pool is fallen on the girls who was passing there, and she died. She was a student of MBBS medical, and the managing committee members have filed a case against this issue, and they are suffering a lot. So likewise, this swimming pool incident happened in Karnataka. The 9-year-old girl died in the swimming pool, and so naturally, all the committee members found guilty by the Karnataka High Court, and they have instructed or they have given uh, this verdict that they should file the case against the 6 committee members against the all these guilty committee members under section 304A, these three section under IPC, which is old IPC. Now it is still the new name has been come up, but that has not come to the acquainted by the people. Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. So yeah, I say IPC is the only main name now which are relevant to the subject. So it's under section 304A means what? Guilty or not guilty. That is important. Purpose or not purpose, motivation or not motivation. These are the important, which is the subject matter of this 304A. So that is the proof to that we are not guilty. That goes on the trial court. So Bombay, that Karnataka government, Karnataka High Court also directed the trial court to start the prosecution against this committee member, and they can defend on that. They can have the defense in this case. Who was guilty? Whether the plaintiff was guilty, whether the committee member was guilty, whether the association was guilty. That has to be proved in the trial court itself. But one thing I would like to share this audience, that any apartment, any housing society, the common area and facilities, they are given by the builder at the time of the purchasing the flat. So naturally, this swimming pool also come under the common area and facilities. But if you see the bylaws of the corporate housing society or apartment association, you won't find the rules and regulations about the maintenance of the swimming pool, because it is purview of the local corporations to allow the uh, building plan. So naturally, society or association does not worried about this situation, or they are not aware of this maintenance of the swimming pool, because there are the norms to how to maintain the swimming pool. Basically, in Maharashtra, DC rules are mentioned. If there should be a one lifeguard for 20 swimmers. This is the rule in Maharashtra. There is a measurement is also fixed for the depth of the water is also fixed 5 feet with the depth of the water. 25 by 4 this 25 by 9 feet is a area of the swimming pool, and the lifeguard should be there. Insurance of the there. All these things facilities are to be done by the corporation, and they look after. They give the permission. But what happens? The managing committee is doing the voluntary work in this sector, so they don't bother for this. They give the maintenance to the some contractual persons, and they keep quiet. What happens? Who is found negligent? Then naturally, anything happens where such thing insurance. Then managing committee found a guilty that for offence, and they are the culprit. So naturally, nobody will there now henceforth to work to maintain the swimming pool in this housing association and housing sector because of this incident. Because it is a lot of issues in legal matters. You see, if you go to the criminal cases, you have to get the bail. This is a bailable offense, so you get the bail. There is no problem. But it is not compoundable. Compoundable means what? There is no compromise situation because this is a case is a very serious nature because the person died in this case. So naturally, there is this case, this under section the 304 when that is prosecuted, that is not compoundable. So naturally, the members who found the guilty, they have to face this section 04, and they get the effect of that section. So they might be so sometime if the court proves that they prove that if we are not guilty, then they may get the relief. Otherwise, they have to face the music and they have to go to the court. They have to go to the jail or they have to pay the fine or anything other happens, and then they have to make an appeal. That goes life disturbance in this committee members' life. So naturally, I would suggest to all these audience and association members also, so not to maintain this swimming pool or which is very difficult to maintain because just now Satish or somebody, I think Satish said that outsiders also use the swimming pool, and they even members also does not follow the rules and regulations also. So this is not a duty of the managing committee to look after as a police or stand there to look after their safety. So naturally, it is a collective responsibility of the members also to go and see that how everything will be safe. So naturally, this is a very important subject matter you have taken for the discussion, and I think, and I worked in so many years in this field, so I know the people may have many questions in this such webinars. So naturally, we talk less for this introduction, but we have to ask the people or we have to get the questions from the people so that we can answer them properly, and we should make them aware to how the law is there. Okay, I think because of my given my time for 10 minutes, I think I have to rush for this next issue only. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jain. One question that is directly related to what you just mentioned about the liability of, MC members and the responsibility on owners also to maintain rules. I saw this question somewhere today. So if there is a written, is it possible to have a written kind of an agreement or a contract with owners at the time of handover, say, binding them to follow the rules? And in that case, if there is an accident due to the user not following the rules, does that in any way mitigate or reduce the liability of the MC member?
No, it is not possible because uh, swimming pool rules are made by the local corporations. So you cannot have the internal agreement unless there is should be mentioned in the bylaws, and bylaws are approved by the state government. For the apartment association in Karnataka, the Karnataka Apartment Act is there. So naturally, the act itself has no provision of that, how to protect the committee members in this case. So naturally, it is come under the under the IPC also. If anything goes wrong in the to the life of the member, so you cannot survive for that. Well, you can say that you can't escape from that. Well, we have made a contract, and
Yes.
we are responsible for the any thing happens for this swimming pool. We can't relate, because this is the collective responsibility of the members as well as the committee members.
Right. I will come back to you and also to Mr. Patil later, but
Yeah.
let me just go to Vikram now. Vikram, we've heard a lot about, the various aspects of safety and also about the liability, etc. The one question that I want to put to you at the very outset, and maybe you can throw some light on this based on what you are seeing or what you have researched over the past. Is there a way, we've also heard of the kind of desirability of handing over maintenance to an external agency. So do you think there are any recommended suggestions or to-dos for the contract that can be drawn up with the vendor that reduces some of these risks? So if you can throw some light on the kind of contracts that we draw up with vendors for maintenance.
Thank you, Satrupa. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, see, it's important to have context to this case specifically. I want to clear a few misconceptions before we proceed forward, basically, right? Very specifically in this case, the individuals who were charged were not all committee members. Okay. There is one member of the committee. There is also a member of the property management firm. There is a representative of the swimming pool maintenance agency, as well as a few employees who are presumably in charge for electrical and maintenance and in general services of maintenance, right? So it's a mixed set of people who were charge sheeted. Of course, I think the president of the association himself was one of the persons who was charged as a member who had, and in some sense, the context of that also was because, I mean, in the management committee, he happened to be the signatory of the service agreements, etc. So the liability, in some sense, was assigned to all people who were thought as people who were in charge, right, and had the responsibility of maintaining that facility and maintaining safety. So that's point number one. Point number two is that the recent High Court order, right, which also seems to have, I think, let's keep in mind two timelines regarding this case itself. The first timeline of the case is between December and January, when the unfortunate incident itself happened, which was followed by a police charge sheet, an arrest, etc., and subsequently bail. Then after that, the people charged have gone to the High Court because the original charge which was filed was under Section 304, culpable homicide not amounting to murder, right, which is a very serious charge. So they went to the High Court. The High Court heard that case and rightly so observed that this is not a case where Section 304 has to be applied. In fact, the judge has gone ahead to say that, the police have not applied due mind in applying that charge. So they have downgraded it to Section 304A, which is negligence, right? So as my previous colleague rightly mentioned, that will now go to trial court. I think there is also some bit of context to this being appealed in the Supreme Court itself, which is going on. But having said that, I think it's a matter of trial, right, to go there. What charges have now been corrected is to trial and try this under negligence, basically, right? So all the people who are charged over there are being charged for negligence, saying that you had a certain responsibility and you have been negligent about that, causing death, right? So that I think has to be clearly understood. And in passing this order, the High Court, the judge has made some observations about swimming pool, safety, etc. That is not to be treated as an order by the court, right? There is no, I saw some questions in the comments to say that, court has served a notice that you should have lifeguards, etc. Like one of the previous speakers has mentioned, I think the realm of guidelines of operations of swimming pool is purely within the ambit of the municipal body, right? As far as I know and understand, and I've tried to check this quite detailedly, Bangalore and BBMP has no guidelines for operation of swimming pools in residential areas. I can be corrected, but I have not come across any guidelines. So there is no guidelines which exist today to say that you should have this, that you should have a lifeguard or whatever. The judge has made passing comments only because presumably, of course, here a life has been lost, a young life has been lost. And I think courts are also of the habit these days to make slightly more expansive sweeping comments. But the order has only been passed on saying charges to be changed to 304A, and hence trial to proceed as per that, basically, right? So that's the context to that, basically, right? Now, coming back to your question about can that be completely offset, and risk and liability can be offset by creating creative or structural
A
agreements?
certain type of,
I think the simple answer to that is that the liability cannot be offset, right? Because at the end of the day, the owners of the property overall, right, is us, the individual owners who constitute the association. And by nature of that, all of us own that property. And hence, in some sense, the property ownership and liability rests with us. Having said that, yes, I think to make the agreements on scope, responsibility, tasks, etc., as much as possible watertight is important, because I think in the case of this trial, and in this case also, I think that will come up for hearing to say how responsible were you in ensuring the obligations of the vendors, service providers, and the people who were paid to do a bunch of things were met clearly, right? Whether the committees and the association's responsibility in overseeing that, any gaps, etc., might be checked back, right? So it is very important to make sure that the agreements that are drawn have very clear scope, very clear responsibility, and there is oversight which is assigned to make sure that they're doing that. I think speakers before me also, both technical speakers as well as legal speakers, said that, you need to, put certain things in place and check.
Yes.
This might be done by others who are experts, obviously, but at the same time, I think to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do is a part of the oversight responsibility. So I have at least not come across any idea which will completely offset the liability. At the end of the day, the higher law of the land, right, which is looking at culpability, will stand on top of any other laws which are applicable to the apartment ownership, etc. But having said that, I think that's a battle to fight as well, to strengthen today, for example, the absence of there being any guidelines for operation of swimming pools, right, itself is a serious concern, right? We don't have that. What do we do in case of that? What do we follow? At best, I think all the things that are being put together and put in place are best practices, basically, right? What Satish presented today, based on an incident and a response, they've taken some measures, right? But those are all in the realm of best practices. For example, they said let all electrical connections be cut off, right? Because then it reduces the liability of electrical risk. But this is not just limited to swimming pool, right? There are so many other installations, etc. So net, I think the responsibility and liability still stays. But in the realm of best practices being implemented well, I think that liability and risk comes down significantly.
Thank you, Vikram. Mr. Patil, I would like to like you to also come in on this aspect of liability mitigation, because I think Vikram largely spoke from the point of view of what we have seen in Bangalore recently, and also on the basis of the the court order that came. But if you could tell us what is happening, what you have seen in other cities regarding this, and the maintenance and mitigation of liability in these respects. Because I think there are also some state-specific safety regulations. For example, Vikram just pointed out that we don't have any guidelines in Bangalore at all from the municipal corporation. But is there anything striking that is working well, which you have seen in other cities or other parts of the country?
राहुल जी, I have asked you to unmute. मैं आपको unmute का एक request भेजा है, आप प्लीज उसको चेक करके unmute कर दीजिए. राहुल जी, I think Shatrapa, we can move ahead.
Yeah. So I'm just going to take a minute to kind of get all the questions together. In the meantime, Krishanu, if you would like to come in with your remarks, with your
Yes, of course.
slide on this, yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to, while all of this very, very important aspects have been discussed, I just wanted to bring in the aspect of the use of technology. So I think, I mean, all the committee members are here are using some product or the other for their overall housing society management, right? Everybody uses some tool or the other. So all of these tools, most of these, of course, the best of breed tools, they have very, very important features which should be used to their fullest to make sure that, various aspects, not only the swimming pool, but there are, as Vikram also mentioned, there are so many other assets, so many other equipments inside a community which can actually, cause issues. It can be life-threatening in many ways, right? So all of these tools and these features, if they are rightly used, they can actually make sure that these assets, these equipments are properly being maintained, and it doesn't cause any surprises, and it doesn't cause any untoward incident happening inside your community. So I'll just quickly touch upon few of these features which you should be using. Number one is AMC tracker. So in tools like in Adda, we have a AMC tracking module where you can set up AMCs, which gives you reminders. It gives you proactive reminders on the service schedules, on AMC expiries, etc., so that various important equipments around not only swimming pool but otherwise also, you don't miss out on those services, and you make sure that they are up and running, right? They are being serviced regularly. Secondly, assets and inventory module, very important. This one module can help keep track of all your assets, the documentation around it, the component details, the service history of all of them, which can be very, very important to make sure that the things are running smoothly in your community. Another very important feature is violation tracker. So for example, in Adda, we have in the resident app itself, you can publish the community guidelines around your pools, etc. And anybody who is not following those, they are not found following those, you have a very good approval process and, very nice process set up where you can track these violations, right? So which is there for the admin users to use it. Next slide. So with this community guidelines and the violation tracker, what can happen is that overall good practice, of the residents can be set, and then everybody starts using the residential community swimming pools and other facilities also in a much more harmonious way. And we can make sure that any untoward incidents are not happening, right? Voice. So we have, for example, community help desk. Again, most of the tools, resident apps have a help desk, but you have to make sure that these features are very easily available in your resident app so that the residents do not have to hunt for it. For example, as you can see on the Adda app, once you open it, the shortcuts are right on the top, starting from the help desk to the community guidelines, etc. Announcements have very prominent feature inside the homepage as well. It is very important to keep your app distraction and ad free to make sure that any important communication which is going from the committee's end doesn't get missed out or doesn't get ignored because they were maybe drowned in some other distracting stuff which was being sent there. So it is very important to make sure that a proper official communication platform is being maintained so that the communication about various important aspects, not only about the swimming pool but across multiple other things around your community, can reach the residents without any distractions and they were constantly aware of it. Last but not the least, having something like a community document repository where, for example, related to the swimming pool, you can have swimming pool diagrams, checklists, processes, all of these things properly documented and kept, right? I can tell you, for example, I am also part of a management committee in my community. It's a small 165 unit community. When we took over, we faced a lot of difficulty in understanding the processes around the swimming pools. And we had to call the vendors, we spoke to them, and we kind of reinvented the entire process because there was no diagram which we found as to how this entire process is running. So having a document repository to make sure that all of these are documented and the continuity's sake, the management committees who are going to take over the next years are also able to refer to it is extremely important. So do make sure that any tool that you are using these particular aspects of that tool to the fullest to make sure that you are not facing any issues related to your overall swimming pool maintenance and maintenance of various other equipments and facilities which are there in your community. I don't want to take more time. There are so many questions which are lined up. Shatrupa, over to you.
Yeah,
Let's
thank you.
jump into the questions.
Thank you, Prashant. So I'm just going to go directly into the question. I don't know how much time we have or how much we can accommodate in the time that we have, but let's try and do the max that we can. So my first question is for Mr. Vinod actually, but Mr. Bhaskar can also come in here. There are some questions around what precautions are to be taken if when pools have to be shut down, whether it is during summer for water scarcity or whatever, and also if there are certain things that we should keep in mind for to prepare a pool for winter for all season usage. So if you could please come in on these two questions, Mr. Vinod. Vinod, can you unmute yourself?
Can you?
Yes, we can hear you.
It is disabled from your side. I think that is right.
No, we
Yeah,
can
now it's
hear you,
working.
Mr.
Yeah.
Vinod. Yes.
Oh, it's
yes.
working. Okay.
Yes.
So when you shut a pool, what need to be first check this whether it is a open, it's a covered pool or open pool. If it is an open pool, for any reason, if you want to shut down, you have to make sure that there are certain amount of water, at least 1 feet, 1.5 feet water is available in the pool because in the hot sun, the tiles are likely to get cracked. So maybe a little quantity is required. If that becomes dirty, then you drain out and again fill. But it is required to keep some water.
And
I will like to add a little bit to that.
yes,
Run your equipments also. Give enough water so that your filtration system can run. So keep the equipment running so that tomorrow or maybe after a month when you will start the swimming pool, you have got less hazards or less maintenance to do, and continue to do the maintenance part also.
Speaking of filtration unit, we have a specific question on how often it should be replaced, or if there is a specific ideal method of filtration. Anything on that from either
2
of
years.
you?
The filtration, the sand should be replaced once in 2 years.
Okay. And is there a particular method of filtration or a certain technology which is specifically recommended?
Filtration method is same. The operator will know. Typically, it varies based on the quantity of the pool. The filtration unit size also increases. So it will be installed as per the design and recommendations of the consultant. So the filtration system which you have is ample to take care of the pool water. The running time, I said, it depends upon the quality of water. If it is normal, couple of hours, even if they are in the pool, still the filtration has to be on. And when the maintenance time starts, then only they have to do the suction and cleaning of the pool.
Mr. Bhaskar, there is a question for you. I think you had just touched upon it, but if there are any more details that you would like to add about the UL. So what is an UL, and is it a listed pool equipment? If you can throw some light on that. And also another question on the use of the circuit breaker, whether a DC circuit breaker is also available. Bhaskar?
He's not able to unmute it.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
I am sending a unmute request to all the speakers who were there. If possible, I would request everybody to keep yourself unmuted so that
For
you know
the
the
timing,
questions.
yes.
Yeah,
For this
so
session,
that
I think the speakers can all be unmuted.
Okay. UL means underwriter's laboratory. It's a standard basically. Okay, so if you are getting a UL, and FM is actually, I was mentioning about FM. FM is actually factory mutual. So FM is more means relevant in case of your fire system, the fire pump house. Okay, so we basically tell these equipments as UL FM approved. Once you have any equipment or any devices ULFM approved, that means this is built as per the standard, and some standard company or standard is controlling the quality of this. So it's like buying a means CE calculate, like in electrical devices, we know that a CE comes by default, right? It is this ULFM is same kind of standard as per for electrical and fire system protection devices. What was the next question, Shatrupa? I missed
The
it.
question was whether a DC circuit breaker is available for
DC means
DC.
Person who raised the question.
Direct current. Yeah.
Acha, DC, direct current.
Yes, direct current. Yes.
Okay. See, as of now, yes, for the DC, you have to go for a DC circuit breaker. They're available because very less places we use DC. Almost 98% of the application in industry, factory, or whatever, it is AC when it comes. Means when it comes where the human interference is. Otherwise, our printed circuit board, our computers, they run on DC, but that's for a very small volume of application. Yes, those are available, but very rare.
Shatrupa, I'll just add one
Yes.
thing here. I think we are past the time. But with everybody's permission, I think we can extend it till 12 p.m. Hope that is fine with everyone. And any questions which does not get answered by then, we will try to get them answered from our speakers, and we will publish them separately. I hope that's fine with everybody.
Sure. I think Mr. Vinod is again unable to unmute himself. I would just request all of you to just not mute yourselves anymore. The speakers can just run through this session.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Another question, and this is actually like an amalgamation of quite a few questions. There are quite a few regarding clarity on whether lifeguards are absolutely necessary, whether security guards can be trained to become lifeguards, and if so, what are the ways in which we can go about that? Having said that, there is also a very I would say pervasive and maybe even legitimate concern about the cost aspect, the financial aspect of having lifeguards on duty all the time. So how can the cost and safety aspects be balanced? What are the recommendations in this respect? I would like to hear both very briefly, both from Mr. Vinod and Mr. Bhaskar on this. What are the absolute non-compromisable elements of ensuring safety? And what can be possible, if at all, alternatives to trained lifeguards?
Yes, we have done that in previous ports. We had security who was deployed in that area, who is also a trained swimmer. So since he knew swimming, we had the security during day duty as a lifeguard come security. I used it in Purva Fountain Square.
And anything about the cost and maintenance, cost of maintenance, how to balance that? Any best practices or recommendations?
Typically, a pool of a medium size will have say about 30,000 rupees a month, including consumables plus GST. And that normally we enter into a contract for a period of 1 year, maybe 5% increase on every year. The savings can happen only if you directly employ a person by the association and procure the consumables as and when needed. So that involvement of the committee members will be required, plus the statutory compliance also need to be taken care by the association. Then the service charges and other charges can be reduced maybe by around 10 to 15%.
Mr. Bhaskar, would you
Yeah,
like to
I
come
will
in?
echo the same thing, but in a nutshell, yes, Mr. Vinod has told the right thing. That is what we are also doing. But association, this is something related to life of a person, right? We have seen certain fatalities. Let us keep the things on expert hand, because trying to save maybe 1,000 or 2,000 or maybe 10,000 rupees also, you cannot buy the life, right?
Right.
So
Correct.
my recommendation is, since there is no compromise, okay, with this,
Right.
let's not try to save some money. Let's keep the things in the hand of the expert,
Right.
and let the expert run the show.
Is Mr. Patil with us right now? There is a question, or maybe even Advocate
Yeah,
Kulkarni could take this up.
Mr. Patil actually put a message telling that he's traveling, and
Okay.
he can take questions later if required and publish them.
Okay. No, I think even Advocate Kulkarni can come in on this. There is a question on if there is any central guideline on swimming pools in residential places, and in the absence of any state or local municipal guidelines, would that override or would that be applicable? Would that prevail?
Basically, what every corporations in India, that local corporations, they have a DC rules that calls a development control rules. And when they give the sanction to the building plan, it is mentioned itself how to regularize it. if any builder proposes the swimming pool in the project, in that case, this is the responsibility of the local body, that is corporation, to give the sanction for this swimming pool as per the norms prescribed by the DC rules or corporation rules. Or there are many departments in the PMC or corporations which control these activities. So it is a responsibility of the builder itself, basically, while sanctioning the building plan. And I think there is no district or no corporation where there is no rule for the swimming pool, because every city now requires the swimming pool, because now the suburban areas are increasing, population is increasing, people are staying outskirts of the city, so it is not possible to go the public swimming pool. So naturally it is a get the facilities from the builder to provide the swimming pool in the project only. So this is the responsibility of the corporation and they have to do.
I think Vikram did mention that we were not able to locate any specific guidelines from the BBMP in case of Bangalore. But
I don't believe this. I don't believe. I don't believe. They have. They must have. They must have.
Maybe, yeah. We have to look into that as well.
Because in Pune, for example, in Pune city, I have checked my DC rule in Pune corporation. So that is what I mentioned norms of the Pune corporation, that there should be one guard for 20 swimmers. There should be a lifeguard which is trained. There are many rules. They have fixed the size also. They have fixed the depth also. They have kept the many rules in the DC rules itself. So these rules must be every corporation. We have to check it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question that we had received, from one of our participants during registration is, what is the right course of action? What is the first step to be taken, and how should things be tackled from a legal perspective, of course, when there is an accident, when there has been an accident, possibly leading to a fatality? What is the right legal course of action to be taken and the sequence?
Tanya. Tanya.
Shall we come back to it later?
I think we can come back to that later.
I will come back to him later. Vikram, one question for you. We've seen, like, and this is largely from the point of best practice, because once again, I don't think there is anything which mitigates liability, or there may not be any hard and fast rules as such. But what measures, like, what kind of practices should be followed when we host, let us say, when we open up the swimming pool to use by guests, okay, or for users, like, even when, let us say, there is a swimming lesson going on, a swimming camp going on, and there are external trainers coming in, what kind of precautions and what kind of best practices should be followed?
Yeah, I think, two parts to your question, right? One is a regular use of facilities by external parties, correct?
Yes.
Where there can be risk involved.
Yes.
Firstly, I think for usage of such facilities where risks are involved, like how I think previous speakers, Satish, etc., also shared some best practices, right? To say that, there are very clear rules of engagement in terms of what are the risks. I mean, indicative, like in a pool, I think one of the technical speakers spoke about there being clear indications of depth. What are the precautions to take? All that being very clearly indicated on the on display, right? Firstly, I think to make sure that the information and knowledge of risks is well communicated. Point number one. I think that information of risks and should be well communicated to residents and owners first also, because in case of matter of there being a question about negligence, if you have shared very well that this is how the challenges are, these are the problems, it is the point of risk, and hence these are the sort of in general behavioral rules to be mentioned, that I think should be very, very clearly communicated, right? First of all, right? If there is an attribute of there being guests who are being provided those features, I think it will be very, very important to also record the access to those features, right? And I'm sure, I think what Krishanu shared earlier, their technology can help. So there is a record keeping in terms of access and use of those features as well. And the fact that, during that record keeping of access, there is a clear indication and proof of risks and precautions mentioned is a very important aspect, right? That the communication is very clear, saying that, hey, this is being made available to you and provided to you, either a resident or a guest, subject to these terms and conditions and these risks, right? So the communication is very clear. That is very important. In terms of, I think the same thing applies also when there are external parties who are conducting aspects like camps, etc. Although I would like to believe that the camps, etc., when it is happening, there is at least the presence of an expert who presumably an expert. There is no guarantees to that as well, right? Now, if the association is facilitating these activities, right, then to some extent also ascertaining the expertise and skill of that trainers as service provider would be a good point of checkpoint, because then that there is somebody who is qualified and valid to conduct that camp, and some part of what obligation that they bring in is also ensuring safety during that camp which happens, right? So if there's a possibility for there to be some kind of a documentation which can be signed off with them to say that, hey, you're being permitted to run this camp, provided these kinds of things, that would be an additional matter of oversight and being clear, right, about the scope. Is what I would think about, right? As I think it comes back to again and again and again, as much as possible, can associations and committees be very, very clear, transparent, and over communicative on these matters, right? Yes. When in doubt, please over communicate, not under communicate.
So one of our, I think, urban, I should say, amenity as well as obsession today is the CCTV. Right. And we hear a lot about how CCTV coverage can kind of at least give us some clues as to what happened, or even show us the way for the future as to what to avoid. But in case of swimming pools in particular, there is also the risk of attracting objections or controversy around a breach of privacy. So what is your take on that, on use of CCTVs? How do you see it playing out in apartment complexes? And do you think there is a role for CCTVs in managing this kind of risk in swimming pools?
Well, at this current juncture of discussion, it seems so, right? So what is the overbearing risk, right, that you want to be able to cover for becomes the moot point, right? Of course, there will be questions about privacy, etc. But at this point in time, I'm compelled to observe that, safety and life safety seems to be a larger concern, and hence, which is why I'm saying, right, to have clarity of rules and guidelines broadly as to what constitutes a safe operating environment for a feature like swimming pool has to be a discussion and a sort of a regulation, not regulation, but I think a guideline which needs to be coming in for the municipal body. In some sense, there are conversations that we are doing also to push the boundary on that, right? I think some of these points of how much safety features versus what is the breach of privacy can be debated there, but at least currently I am compelled to observe that probably something which ensures life safety maybe trumps on top of.
Trumps everything
I mean, I
else.
might be
Right.
killed for saying that, but definitely, I think that's my thought process.
No, I think the measures which Mr. Satish mentioned, as how they have set up the CCTV cameras, I think made a lot of sense.
Absolutely. And I'm sure, I think there is ways in which you can sort of smartly design solutions.
Right.
There are best practices, of course. I think it is important to popularize, and that's one of the things that we will try to do is popularize best practices which give a balanced solution, right? So that there is no extremity in terms of how we deal with things. That is important.
Sure.
So I think we are, we've not just overshot, but we've also reached the end of our extended deadline. But in case Mr. Jain is here, I would just like to end with that last question. Mr. Kulkarni, are you there? Are you available?
Yes, yeah.
Yes. So there was one question that we had received from a registered participant on what is the right course of action and the right sequence to be followed legally when there is an accident, probably even leading to a fatality in a swimming pool. So what is the right course of legal action to be adopted by
basically,
MC members?
yeah. Wow. Basically, what happens? Anything happens in the swimming pool or any other things which damages the body of the person or in the life to the person, that become an offense. Prima facie, it becomes an offense. So naturally, police complaint has to be made. The police on the spot, they come there, they make the panchanama and everything there, and they, if life has in danger or anything person has died or it happens, naturally they have to arrest first of all, and they put before the court, and within 24 hours they put before the present before the court, and then get the bail. Under section 304A, there is a bail, provision of the bail is there. They get the bail only. But after that, after getting the bail, the committee member comes out. But after the case goes on the trial basis. So naturally, if they found guilty, they get the punishment. But they cannot come out from the responsibility from this offense, because they are the committee members. And what court will say, whether swimming pool is come under the act, rules and bylaws of the association or society. First of all, that is the responsibility of the court to look after these rules and regulations. Secondly, building plan. Whether the building plan is sanctioned by the proper authority or not. Even if the swimming pool is there any rules and regulations made therein? If the general body has passed any resolutions regarding the rules and regulations for the swimming pool only, there's all the technical and legal aspects are seen by the court itself. So managing
But
committee
as a, sorry, please go.
Yeah, the managing committee's responsibility is that they should not override the jurisdiction of the act and rules and bylaws only. Now, what happens in this case also, or in Pune also, there are many swimming pools are in the premises of the housing society or association. So, but there is no specific rules are mentioned in the bylaws. No, this act is also not provided any facilities for that. So there is no protection from the Act, Cooperative Act or Apartment Act for this offence under this if anything happens for these committee members, because they are the voluntary workers. So naturally, we have to take care of this. So these things are the common. Very happens in all these districts where are the swimming pools are there. So we have to take the precautions only. They basically, that is important.
Right. Thank you very much to all of you. I think this was an extremely informative and quite intense session also. Apologies to those of you whose questions we've not been able to address directly, but we have made a documentation of all of that. And we will try to put out our resources and guides addressing as many of those questions as possible. Thank you, and over to Krishanu now.
Yeah, I wouldn't take much time either. Thanks, everybody. I just like to thanks everybody. Thank you to the speakers and all the participants for taking out time, as I said in the beginning as well, on a Saturday morning, and now it is extended to the afternoon. But thank you so much for attending, and hopefully this has been able to answer a few questions which had been there in your mind. Whatever questions we could not answer, we will try to get all of them answered and we will publish them so that all of them reaches you. But hopefully this session should have some impact in making sure that our swimming pools become a bit more safer, and we are able to make sure that any other untoward incidents don't happen anymore around these swimming pools in our residential communities. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Krishanu. Have a nice day.
Thank you all.